Hey everybody, good early morning. It's 8 o'clock, an hour early than what I normally come in at 9, but I had some things to do in a little bit, so I wanted to get in and do a kind of my Devo. So I'm in Proverbs 14 today. You could always check out the archives of the morning Devos with Bo at my YouTube channel. Just go to Bo Willette. And they're right there for you. So hope you guys are doing well. Gone through the New Testament. Now I'm in the Old Testament. I'm in the book of Proverbs. So that's where we find ourselves today. And we'll kind of get into it, see kind of what it says, right? How it kind of flows. And I love doing morning devos. They're awesome. So chapter 14, I'm going to kind of read through this and we can do it together. I'm going to read from the New Living Translation. It says, "A wise woman builds her house, her home, but a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands." That's probably one to mark, because it could be a wise man builds his home, but a foolish man tears down his own home with his hands. So you could, switch genders, of course, with that one. Just the idea of, again, do I build up or do I tear down? Those who follow the right paths fear the Lord. Those who take the wrong path despise him. Do I tear down my home by not following the Lord, right? Do I take the wrong path? Or do I allow other things in my mind, in my heart, especially things that are, maybe I'm dealing with fear, maybe I'm dealing with insecurity, and those things are tearing down my home, right? Because all my decisions kind of are based off of those things. Maybe it's pride in my heart. Maybe there's envy in my heart or something else that's going on, and that's really causing a lot. And so wanting to follow the right path, right? That's kind of the idea. But a fool's proud talk becomes a rod that beats him, but the words of the wise keep them safe. Wow, the proud talk, right? Kind of talk that's thinks that it's got it together, I guess, thinks it's right, becomes, focused on their own wisdom. A fool's proud talk becomes a rod that beats him. It's almost like inflicting harm on yourself, right? With your pride. Ugh. And we all can do that, that's for sure. I mean, that sounds like the human condition, don't it? A lot of pride. We get beat down by our own pride, Without oxen, a stable stays clean. Yeah, that's true. But you need a strong ox for a large harvest, meaning you're going to have to, understand the kind of the consequences of what that ox is going to bring, the good and the bad. And I guess every decision has that kind of, maybe there's that side and then there's that side, right? You bring the ox in the stable, and now the stable has to be cleaned. Now there's ramifications. You need more people to maybe help you out. But without that ox, the harvest, you can't really harvest as much. And so an honest witness does not lie. A false witness breathes lies. That's one that it seems to be driving home, right? That idea of being honest. A mocker seeks wisdom and never finds it, but knowledge comes easily to those with understanding. So is my heart set to understand? Is my heart humble, set to learn? But a mocker seeks wisdom and never finds it. Someone who's constantly, mocking other people. It seems like they're wise, but they're really not. It says, "Stay away from fools. You won't find knowledge on their lips." That's good. That's good to know. "The prudent understand where they are going, but fools deceive themselves." Okay, so the prudent understand where they're going. They have good, looking ahead, right? The prudent kind of look ahead, right? They understand where they're going. They see that future destiny. But what fools deceive themselves, right? They're not looking they're not seeing things clearly in front of them, right? So they maybe are short-sighted. And we know, we all have done that before, right? Where we've been very short-sighted, didn't see the ramifications. And so it talks about that. The prudent understand where they are going. Fools make fun of guilt, but the godly acknowledge it and seek reconciliation. So fools make fun of guilt, but the godly acknowledge it and seek reconciliation. That's good. That guilt is saying something to me. Sometimes the guilt says, hey, you did that wrong. You did that with the wrong heart. You hurt people that way. Or that guilt says, no, that was just a sin, dude. Like, come on, But certainly I've made a lot of fun of guilt. So when guilt crept up in my heart, what I did is I didn't deal with it in a very honest way. Instead, I just kind of made more fun of it, joked, mocked, got wasted, to not deal with it. That's how it works. And so many of us. It says, each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can fully share its joy. Very true, right? I don't know everybody's heart. I can't feel what they feel. But each heart, right, knows its own bitterness, and no one else can fully share it's the joy that it has too. Yeah, so sometimes when we say to people, I know exactly what you're going through, sometimes we just don't. We don't know exactly what people are going through. We don't know what they're feeling. All I could say is, as human beings, we do have similar emotions to one another. They kind of vary on the spectrum, high and low, but we all share that same commonality of emotion. Sometimes it's good just to give someone a hug and let them know that, hey, you're with them. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the godly will flourish. And there's that destroying, right, the wicked and the godly comparison that seems always throughout the Proverbs. There's a path for each person that seems right, but in the end it leads to death. That's so true, right? Seems like it's right. Path before each person that seems right, but in the end it doesn't go the right direction. It looks right? It seems right. In the moment, it seems right. But it doesn't have that prudence with it. That prudence that it spoke about, where you're looking forward, but you're really able to see the forward thing clearly. Instead, you're just not really looking forward, right? Hey, I got to put a lot of money on that horse. That sounds like the right thing to do. It seems so right. Everybody's saying that horse is going to win, right? But it doesn't. There's a way that seems right, but in the end, it leads to death, right? And sometimes it can be our philosophies that seem right, and we're just trusting in ourselves or in our education or something like that. But in the end, it doesn't lead to a resurrection, right? It leads to just, death, so to speak, or not eternal not a resurrected of righteousness anyway. So laughter can conceal a heavy heart, but when the laughter ends, the grief remains. And that's so true too. Do you know people that just kind of tend to joke about everything? Because laughter can't conceal a what? Heavy heart. Sometimes that's how we express our heavy hearts, is through laughter. But when laughter ends, that grief is still there. We're going to have to deal with our grief. You might be going through a hard grieving time in your life. And, the best advice I think that I've ever been given is just, hey, feel what you need to feel. It's okay to feel that way. And you just got to take every day as it is, and there'll be days where they're grievous days, and just don't fight that grief. I guess allow it to shape and mold as you look to God for help and grace to get through it. It says, backsliders get what they deserve. Good people receive their reward. Backsliders, that's a big word. I used to hear that a lot early on in my Christian walk. Backsliders, those that turn back, sliding back, right? Going backwards, right? They get what they deserve. That's true. It's a hard word, but it is true. We do get what we deserve, us backsliders. Good people receive their reward. Now, it's in comparison with good people receive their reward. So you get the idea that it's still that kind of contrasting of the righteous or the wicked, and the godly kind of idea. Those that have really turned away from Yahweh. Only simpletons believe everything they're told. The prudent carefully consider their steps. So again, careful, prudent, careful, right? It seems like there's a more thoughtful approach when you're prudent than when you're just, quick. It says, the wise are cautious and avoid danger. Fools plunge ahead in reckless confidence. Again, that impatience, right? Comparison with that prudence. Short-tempered people do foolish things, and schemers are hated. Am I short-tempered? Do I find that in my own life? Because when you're short-tempered and you just go off the cuff and you get angry every time, man, you could really get reckless. And it says, short-tempered people do foolish things and schemers are hated. So simpletons are clothed with foolishness, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Again, the idea of prudent, careful, thoughtful. But the simpletons are clothed with foolishness. So there's some people that are very thoughtful and meticulous and work through things, and they sure enough get something done, and there's progress. But then there's the simpletons that don't have the time, and it shows their foolishness. Evil people will bow before good people. The wicked will bow at the gates of the godly. Now, we'd like to think that this is just a truth, in the sense of it always happens this way. But again, the Proverbs tell us what ought to be. And this is what ought to be, but it doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes you have people that are on the top that shouldn't be leading, and you have people that are on the bottom that should be leading. And that's how our world works. But verse 19 is giving us definitely how it ought to be, right? That the good people are leading. The poor are despised even by their neighbors, while the rich have many friends. That's that can be very true. It is a sin to belittle one's neighbor. Blessed are those who help the poor. Awesome. The idea of helping people, helping the poor. To belittle one's neighbor. Love your neighbor, right? Do good to those who are your neighbor. And so you see that kind of principle here, right? Don't belittle. Don't speak down, right? Don't cut up your neighbor. Instead, maybe be praying for your neighbor, right? Again, about your mouth. How do you talk? Do you talk down to someone? Do you belittle? That kind of idea. And you notice the Proverbs are just littered with the idea of don't go this route. It's like poison. You're giving people poison, and then you belittle someone, you talk down, you make them, you question that, and then it goes down, and then someone else is becomes bitter, and it just becomes a poison throughout a people. Lift up, pray. You got a problem with someone, you pray for them, you lift them up. You encourage them, you love on them. Belittling, it's the American pastime. If you plan to do evil, you will be lost. If you plan to do good, you will receive unfaithful love and faithfulness. Work brings profit, but mere talk leads to poverty. Again, that contrasting of poverty, laziness, right? to working hard and profit. Wealth is a crown for the wise. The effort of fools yields only foolishness. A truthful witness saves lives, but a false witness is a traitor. Do I want to be a person who saves lives? Well, maybe I need to be a truthful witness, right? Maybe a false witness is a traitor, right? Someone who's going against. Those who fear the Lord are secure. He will be a refuge for their children. I love that. Those who fear the Lord are secure. He will be a refuge for their children. I tell you, sometimes all we can do with our children is put them in the Lord's hands, right? Those of us who fear the Lord, our children, we put them into the Lord's hands. Fear of the Lord is life-giving fountain. It offers escape from the snares of death. So true is that, right? And that's what Jesus' words are why they're so cool, right? If I live, you will live too. That's right. It's a life-giving fountain. A growing population is a king's glory. A prince without subjects has nothing. That's an interesting one in our day with all the people coming into the country, right? A growing population is a king's glory. A prince without subjects has nothing. That's interesting. A country needs people. Yeah. And so, if a country isn't growing through having babies, then maybe we need to bring people in, right? Because a king's glory is a growing population. I don't know. It's just a thought. People with understanding control their anger. A hot temper shows great foolishness. Yeah, self-control, right, of our temper. What's my temper like? Do I have self-control with it? Do I get angry easily? Do I get sharp? Am I sharp in my words? Cunning? Do I have some self-control? A peaceful heart leads to a healthy body. Jealousy is like cancer in the bones. Ooh, so true, right? Jealousy can oh man, what an emotion jealousy can be in our fallen state of human nature, right? It can really permeate the whole being, mess us up in and out. If you've ever been jealous before, it's like a whole body experience. It feels just so awkward. And it leads to incredible paranoia, and when you get jealous, you can get very compulsive, to want to deal with things. You might call someone 1 billion times. You might email them a ton. You might text them 7 million times. You might just constantly be at them, You can't give it up. You can't stop. It's over your whole being. No fun. Yeah, I got to lay that one down before the Lord, right? It's like a cancer in the bones. Bones go through the whole body. Those who oppress the poor insult their maker, but helping the poor honors them. Hey, don't insult. Again, what's in our mouth, right? Am I saying things bad about people? Even the poor, right? It says you insult your maker. Maybe I got to look at things a little bigger. Like maybe God knows what's going on. Maybe God knows that person. He does. That's what the Bible says. God knows all people. And so maybe I need to just pray for them. Learn to love people instead of oppress. Notice those who oppress the poor, right? Like a financial oppressing of the poor. People that want to keep people in line. Hey, you're making too much money. We're going to have to, make your dollar not go so much, right? You can't use your dollar as well as you used to last year. Now your dollar can only buy you that. See, it kind of takes away your money, right? It brings us back to where maybe you were 10 years ago or 20 years ago, right? It's a great way to oppress, keep people in kind of certain line, in a certain place. You don't want too many people getting rich, right? Too many people making money, because then they have more power. They have more ability to have financial power, which creates all kinds of other power, right? Yeah, it seems like there is definitely a theme here. Has there been groups in the past that wanted to keep people poor? Absolutely, and so the Bible speaks of that, right? So those who oppress the poor insult their maker. The wicked are crushed by disaster, but the godly have a refuge when they die. Again, about that refuge being God, right? But the wicked are crushed. Meaning, in the end, the wicked are crushed, right? The godly have this place, when they die. Notice it's not saying they won't die. It's just saying the godly have a refuge when they die. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So remember that. It doesn't mean that so much that your life here is going to be, hunky-dory kind of thing, but it's that when you die, there's, that prudence lets us know that, hey, there's a future and a hope. Wisdom is enshrined in an understanding heart. Wisdom is not found among fools. Godliness makes a nation great, but sin is a disgrace to any people. Certainly so, right? It's like if I had everybody living like me when I was growing up, what would the world be like? What if everybody lived like me now? What would the world be like? Such an amazing... What if everybody did what you do? Think of it that way. What if everybody talked down to one another? And maybe you see yourself doing that. Maybe everybody else does that too. What would the world look like? So convicting, those questions. A king rejoices in wise servants, but is angry with those who disgrace him. So true. Be a wise servant, to our king, right? Let's try to be a wise servant, not an unwise servant. So I love that. Great proverb. Hey, Tina, thanks for joining me this morning. Awesome. You guys have a good one. Take care, okay? Bye-bye.